Well, I found out my granddad. Just a side note, because I've been doing this show about my granddad, like live show, hopefully for Edinburgh, and a big part of like I sat down and learned about his life and stuff. He was a fucking like right on communist, like he was a peasant farmer in Cyprus, like he was a peasant, literally
So
a
he didn't
peasant, like
he didn't
grow the
grow
food and
peasants,
eat it,
not that
you
kind of
know.
peasant farm. Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he had peasant crops as far as the eye could see, and
Yeah.
learning about his life and stuff. And then after he, left Cyprus, he didn't immediately sort of come to England. He like spent some years like fucking about, and he was like in East Germany with this sort of commie thing, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking nuts.
I
But anyway,
wish that I could, like, both my granddads died before I was born. Like, one of them was very old, I think. See, I don't even fucking know anything about them really. Like, I think one of them was quite old. So not totally surprising that he wasn't with us. But my dad's dad died of a heart attack when he was like 55 or something. He's pretty young. So I've never had an opportunity to like drink in these sort of, pensioner stories and like wartime, you know, all that stuff. All I can go on is what other people tell me, which is invariably, you'd never know a hard day's work in your life, son, like that sort of shit. Like, which is, maybe that's true, but like that's someone else's like I'd love to sit down with my like grandfathers and hear the kind of tales it sounds like you heard. Is there a part of you that's like,
yeah, no, it was great, and it was great because I videoed it
yeah,
as well.
is there a part of you when you were talking to him where you were like, I am such a piece of shit, like here I am moaning about?
Oh no,
Really?
100%. Like that was literally the basis of the show. In the end, the show was about how, when I left
Yeah.
uni, fucking I did a master's degree. My granddad
Can
was
you ask
a
him how he
peasant.
managed that dynamic? Because that's really what I'm looking for with this show, is to make you come away feeling like I am such a piece of shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, literally, it was sort of just understanding how like our grandparents' generation and stuff just got on with stuff because they had to. Like, they didn't have the option of fucking about like I do, and they'd been like, oh, I think I'm going to be an actor now, and and he's sitting there being like, oh yeah, and then there was a coup, so all my land was taken by the Turks, so I had to, and it's like, because we've got land in Cyprus and we still can't go to it. Like, we can maybe do a day visit, but that's it.
That's fucking nuts, isn't it? It's like, it's like
fucked
real
up.
hardship,
Yeah.
like the kind of hardship you have no recourse of fighting back. Some guy in a fucking soldier uniform just rocks up and goes, yeah, you know this house that was yours? You're like, no, this is my house. I bought it. It's mine. I own all the land all around it. They're like, yeah, no, this is property of the state now. Fuck off. Like, what would you do? And if like if you fight back, they'll just shoot you in the head and like do God knows what to your family. So yeah, like real problems. And meanwhile, like people like you and me are like, this guy said something mean to me on Twitter and I just can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because like I had a massive, horrible bout of depression. Like, because I've always had like depression problems, like all fucking straight white men these days, Yeah, and so like, and that was sort of a big part of what prompted it, because it was like, look, I'm gonna try and get some fucking perspective. I mean, I've got some perspective, but it just showed me more of what a piece of shit I am. Kind of shone more of a light on it, if anything.
Yeah.
Like, well, I went into this thinking might be a piece of shit, and now I just know for sure exactly what it is about
fighting fire with fire. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's like I have quite a, I can't even think of the adjective really to use here, but I have quite a healthy, I think, attitude to depression. Speaking as someone who I think I was never diagnosed, but I think I suffered with depression reasonably badly in my late 20s and maybe early 30s. And I've listened to a few podcasts on it and stuff, and I don't know if I'll cling to this belief forever, but certainly for the last few years, and I think for the foreseeable future until someone convinces me otherwise, I think my attitude to it is like, when I felt the most depressed was when I had no real goals and no real feeling like I was actually working towards something. So when people come out and say, well, you're only depressed because you haven't got something to work on, or you're only depressed because you haven't got something to put your mind on, like, you know, focus and work towards, I actually sort of buy into that quite a lot, because since I don't know if it would work for everyone, but since I see, this is going to sound really pretentious and fucking insufferable now, but since I got into like stand up, that was the first time in my life I felt like I could fucking do this. I actually feel like every week as I try this joke again, and I'm going to twist this word here, and I'm going to try a slightly different metaphor, or, you know, the process that we go through, and every week it would just sort of, you know, improve a bit, and then I'd fuck up and I'd be like, oh well, I'll go back and try this other, you know, but there was a crescendo of sort of achievement to it, where I was like, I can feel myself getting better and more confident at this, and it was like a skill set and a confidence that was growing that I had never really felt before. Like, I'd had other hobbies and shit, but never anything where I'd actually had people coming up to me afterwards and like being honest with me and saying like, that was great, that was really good, like you should do this, excited about it for me, like, and it completely changed like how I felt about it. I was like, I could fucking do anything. I could, like, if I just work hard at this, I can actually do this. And now I feel like when people get depressed, or they speak about depression, the first thing that leaps in my head is like, well, what are you working on? What are you trying to do? Like, have you got hobbies? Are you working? Are you training?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's definitely a bit of both, you know, because I guess what you're sort of talking about is one kind of depression where, you know, it's that kind of listlessness, you know, because we're like monkeys that have evolved to start dealing with fucking problems as they arise, and we haven't really got any. So, like, you know, so then we sort of turn our thoughts inwards and start going, oh, fuck me, I'm a piece of shit, and this and that. And again, you know, sort of, you know, sort of going about like sort of show thing too much, but like what you're saying, because when I started writing this show, I started getting really into like reading philosophy, because because it's about being an actor, right? So it's called Acting in Bad Faith, but that's you know, that's sort of a reference to stuff in like philosophy, you know, stuff like Sartre and Camus and that. So like, bro, I've got to learn about this, and then, you know, so you learn about so Camus sort of was this philosopher that pointed out how absurd life is, and everything's meaningless and this and that, and the sort of shit that makes people go, oh, you know, life is meaningless. But he starts talking about, and this is what my show opens with, you know, with like this sort of, with like this picture of Sisyphus, right? So it's like me with Sisyphus's head. It's like this bit weird dream sequence.
Right.
It makes
I'm
sense.
Nodding along like I know who the fuck Sisyphus is. I have no idea.
Oh, Sisyphus, right? All right, it's like a Greek myth, right? It's this king thought he was better than the gods, so they punish him by saying, right, you've got to push a boulder up a hill forever.
Oh, right.
And as soon as it gets, and like, you know, and as soon as it gets to the top, the boulder rolls back down again. So he has to go back down, and that's forever. The boulder, as he gets to the summit, the boulder rolls back down, and it's just sort of thing about the pointlessness of it all and how futile your life is, and everything like that. And that's sort of this. It's just become like this sort of thing that people pin all their fucking hopeless, like teeny angst on, you know, like, oh, go, you know, it's so meaningless. Like your toil takes you this far, and then you just comes back down again. Blah blah blah. But then Camus.
I thought you were going to say like that you. So then what happens if you associate psychologically, if you associate achievement and working towards something with imminent and infinite failure? Like if every time you push the boulder up the hill, you know it's always going to come back down. Or I suppose in a modern, like reality-based example, you push the boulder all the way up the hill, and maybe that problem won't come back down, but it will create new boulders and new. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.